My name is Jerica Coley, and the other members of my group are Abby Witt, Braden Hull, and AJ Johansson. We are covering botulism. Botulism is a severe form of food poisoning which results from ingesting foods containing botulinum toxins. Despite this food illness being pretty rare, the mortality rates are actually high because the toxin produced by this bacteria are one of the most deadly naturally produced substances known. A single gram of toxin is a lethal dose for 200,000 mice. There are 7 strands of Clostridium botulinum, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. They're defined by the specificity of their toxins, and they can cause botulism in humans and animals. Strains A, B, E, and in rare cases F, cause human botulism. So Clostridium botulinum is commonly known as botulism. It is a rod-shaped, gram-positive, spore-forming bacteria. Clostridium botulinum has no nucleus or other membrane-enclosed organelles. The bacteria prefers environments with little to no oxygen. This bacteria reproduces through binary fission. Clostridium botulinum ranges in size from 0.5 to 2 micrometers in width and 1.6 to 22 micrometers in length. The bacteria is slightly curved, and the flagella is distributed over the entire cell surface. Each toxin is activated by proteases following bacterial lysis. Clostridium botulinum form dormant spores that can survive extreme conditions. This bacteria stops the release of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine from neurons, resulting in paralysis.
So next we have reservoir. And in order for an environment to be primed for this lethal little guy to grow more spores, it takes many specific factors. The first being an anaerobic environment, meaning no air is directly next to it. Then the acidity needs to be low. Its perfect pH to thrive is 7, a pH of 7, which is a neutral pH. Next, the sugars and salt in its growth site also have to be very low. The temperature for most groups of botulism hit their prime between 86 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Some examples of environments include improperly canned foods, wound entry after surgery or the injection of drugs, entry to an infant's digestive tract, rarely found in the adult intestinal tract, and iatrogenic means caused from too much injection of botulism through medical or cosmetic reasons.
For our next section, we have the transmission of botulism, and it's spread through vehicle transmission, so through food or soil or air. For foodborne botulism, that is the ingestion of contaminated foods. As we learned earlier, it is mainly from home-prepared or home-canned foods. In infant botulism, that can be the ingestion of honey or corn syrup. Wound botulism is a little bit different if the wound gets gravel or dirt, or in some cases, it's been linked to black tar heroin can be the vehicle for transmission. One of the common misconceptions with botulism is that it's spread through person-to-person contact, which is not true. It is not spread through horizontal direct contact or direct contact droplet. Many get confused because of you can have botulism outbreaks, but that is due to maybe contaminated food in the area that is spreading it to multiple people, not people spreading it to people. Now we have signs and symptoms. When you're infected with botulism, the spores release a neurotoxin, which enters your bloodstream and then goes to the nervous system. And it is proven that it affects the cranial nerves first. So one of the first signs that you'll see are drooping eyelids or slurred speech. Other signs include trouble breathing or nausea. That's usually with food botulism that occurs. And then with all types of botulism, it leads towards paralysis. Some of the other symptoms are difficulty swallowing or speaking, a dry mouth, facial weakness, blurred or double vision, and then also problems urinating or constipation. All of these symptoms are due to the paralytic effect that it has on your body. And some of the facts about the signs and symptoms. Symptoms can start 18 to 36 hours after contamination, but they're not bound to that. It depends on how much you ingest, how much of the toxin you ingest. So some can occur as soon as 6 hours after, or in cases for wound botulism, it can be up to 10 days after initial contamination. Some of the complications, though, with botulism are that because it is paralyzing, the recovery can be long. It can take weeks or months to come out of that. And so you're prone to other infections during recovery. And then some of the symptoms may actually linger for years after you are infected. So symptoms like fatigue and shortness of breath may linger even after you've recovered from the disease.
We're now headed to the prevention part of botulism. There are several easy, practical ways that we can adopt to limit our exposure and our risk of having botulism. The first is to practice good cooking techniques. For example, before you start cooking, always make sure and wash your food thoroughly, making sure that you clean each part of the vegetable, especially when using vegetables that have multiple layers, ensuring that each part of those layers is washed correctly. While you're cooking the food, making sure that cooking is done at the proper temperature, especially when working with proteins, cooking through that food thoroughly. And also, once we're done eating said food, we should practice proper rehydration, which is recommended that it's 2 hours after you cook. That food should be stored in a refrigerator and properly contained to help us limit our exposure to diseases. It is also a safe practice to wash the outside of cans before opening them. There are several types of bacteria that can enter the cans, and also if you see bulging cans, to avoid those, and also look at expiration dates. There are very good sterilizing techniques for when you want to do canning, which is integral for avoiding botulism, making sure that we are not using any type of technique that would force any bacteria into the cans. And once you can or pickle food items, to make sure and refrigerate those and that they're properly stored once opened. These are all home safety techniques that we can use to prevent that risk. And moving on now to treatment. Infant botulism is very rare, but it does occur, and those cases can be treated through a botulism immune globulin, which is an important treatment that they can receive. It should be done so properly and also in a short amount of time from when the parent finds out about the botulism for the infant. In general cases of botulism, injections of the botulinum toxin to treat iatrogenic botulism is recommended, which can be done in a hospital. It's important that those patients are hospitalized immediately. Time is of the essence with this disease, and so they should be hospitalized and cared for, and that antitoxin treatment should be done immediately as well. If a wound is present, it's a good idea to treat that surgically and remove all of the area around the wound so that it does not spread anymore and it won't affect other parts of the body.
So one interesting, fairly recent problem was people growing garlic and using it to make garlic and oil dressing for salads and other foods. While it may be delicious, it causes a great environment for botulism to grow and thrive. Garlic itself doesn't cause a problem, but once it's thrown into the oil, any botulism present on the garlic is put into prime condition for growth. The oil eliminates the oxygen that was present, and this dressing was normally left out to sit at room temperature. Used instantly, it wouldn't be as fatal, but after sitting for a week, it will gladly poison your Sunday dinner. It is now very uncommon to see this mixture in homes or restaurants. You can find bottles of it at stores occasionally, but these have been tested and cleared of this deadly creature. So take a second to think before you throw this seemingly harmless sauce all over your delicious food. And then we have our resources tab, and it's our last slide on our presentation, and this is just all the sources that we found on our microbe. Thank you.